Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants and immigration and everything in between. Thank you for listening and downloading the show, and thank you for supporting my dad.
And we are back, Immigrant Nation. New week, another new episode. At an Immigrant's Life on all the social media. Follow if you'd like. But something I'd like to do is thank you for listening every week. I don't know what's happening, but our numbers are doubling every week. And I want to thank you all for that. Let's continue to grow. And of course, the best way to grow is for you to help us out. Share the podcast to your friends and family online or offline. Now, let's talk about the episode. This week's guest is a real-life beauty queen that is not just all beauty and brains, but also uses her heart to help and impact other people's lives. She's an amazing woman, and you'll soon find out soon enough. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is an actress, a model, and a philanthropist. A woman of valor that is as beautiful as a flame lily. Everyone, please welcome Yollanda Chimbarami.
Thank you. That was such an amazing introduction.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's my signature for the podcast. I always like having this elaborate introduction to the guest. And I always make sure that it's connected to their culture and what they like.
Right. I love it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Before we move on, why don't you tell the Immigrant Nation where they can reach you?
Sure. You can follow me on all the social media platforms at Yollanda Chimbarami. I will spell my first and last name. It's at YOLLLANDA, and the last name is CHIMBARAMI.
Beautiful. So, take us back to Zimbabwe. Which part of Zimbabwe were you from?
So I am from the capital city, which is Harare.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean, Harare?
It means the city that never sleeps.
New York, you mean?
Exactly, but the African version of New York.
What kind of community did you grow up in Harare?
A very small community to say. In as much as my parents are very outgoing, they were also very overprotective when it comes to whom we hang out with or whom we allow in our spaces. So my mom always made sure to lock the gate and throw away the keys whenever she gets the opportunity to. Yeah.
Why are they very protective like that?
I think it was mostly because of the line of business that my parents are into, and also where we stayed. We stayed on a farm where your neighbor is literally kilometers away. So if you get kidnapped or raped,
But you live in a city.
Not in the city. I mean, it's in the outskirts, actually. My parents has a farm. Yeah, my parents do have a farm just outside the city.
What do they farm?
They do a lot of stuff. My mom does agriculture, and then my dad is into cattle, the meat industry.
So how was that growing up in the farm? Were you forced to work in the farm?
No. So actually there were two farms. There was one where we actually stayed. There we didn't, it was mostly just subsistence farming, just for my family. And then commercial farming was at the bigger place where they also had the business. But growing up, no, my mom never used to imply on us working at the farm. It was optional, actually, or whenever she felt like she needed help. But the space was so big that she always needed help. So, yeah, we always had people come through.
Wow, spoiled brat over here.
Not even. I wish. That would have been nice. My mom is a very typical African woman. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
wake up, you spread your bed, you make breakfast for everyone. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, we had a helper. But as we were approaching our teens age, my mom was like, no helper. You ladies have to wake up early and do the chores. So she made sure that we woke up and made breakfast for everybody, did the dishes, and yeah, organized our rooms, spread the bed, did a little bit of sweeping, especially during the weekends. So yeah, I wish I was spoiled, but no.
How many siblings do you have?
Cool. We are about 7 in my family.
Mom and dad got busy.
They were fruitful and they multiplied.
Hey, my God, 7. That must be like a crazy household.
um, oh, yes and no, simply because when some of my siblings were older, they moved out of the house and then some were in boarding school. So at times there would be 3 or 2 kids at home. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So was it a comfortable life?
Yes, it was very comfortable. My parents did their best and they're still doing their best to provide whatever they can for us.
Mhm.
Yes, which I really, really love and I admire.
Were you close to the school that you have to go to, or you have to walk like 300 kilometers?
Oh my God. I feel like my dad would be excited for this question. You know, because most of the times he's like, guys, sit down. Let me tell you, we used to walk 10 kilometers to school. So stop complaining about A, B, C, D. We had it in a very tough one, which is like, okay. You know, but my school was not too far. It was a 45-minute drive, depending on the traffic. That was the closest school to my house. So depending on the traffic. So yeah. But the first
45.
yeah, 45 minutes. And sometimes when there's traffic, it can take you an hour to get to school.
Oh my God. You know
Yeah.
what's funny? I've been talking to, obviously, I've been talking to immigrants, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I moved to Canada and I have to drive for like an hour. And I'll be like, that's a long drive. I'm like, what are you talking about? Where I'm from is like 3 hours every day.
Exactly.
My God,
Exactly.
man. How's
Yeah.
Zimbabwe now? How's their economy? Is it improving?
I would have loved to say yes, but unfortunately, no. Our inflation rate keeps spiking, actually. I was reading an article yesterday. Economically, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done, you know. But in terms of infrastructure and investors, I feel like we are at a better position than we were 5, 10 years ago.
I saw that $1 Canadian is equals to 280 plus Zimbabwe dollars.
Yes, so exchange rate is quite crazy.
Like, how do you buy like a bag of coffee? I guess. Let's say what you bring like a box of money. Like that's insane.
Well, that was mostly back then in 2018 when we had hyperinflation, you know. So sometimes you would literally just need like a brick of money in order for you to pay for your transportation from your house to town. And then when you're coming back from town, going home, you probably need 2 or 3 bricks. And then tomorrow we're 10 bricks. And, you know, like
Where do
that's how.
you put them?
Yeah, those one point, like we usually used to carry just bricks of money in our backpacks and be like, yeah, you know, but that was back in 2018. Now things are getting better. They're not the best. I mean, they're getting better. So we're currently using the Zimbabwean bond not alongside the American US dollar.
So you don't
Yeah,
have to carry a brick.
no, so that you don't have to carry. And also with technology too, you know, like people are starting to use e-wallets and they're a lot more comfortable sending money through e-wallets. So yeah, you don't have to carry a huge backpack.
I'm still on the idea of you have to carry these bricks of money.
Yeah, that could barely buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, been
That's
through it.
insane.
I know. Like, I always tell my friends that, hey, you better be nice because at some point in my life, I was a trillionaire.
I mean, I guess so. Like every day you're a trillionaire.
Yeah, and I sold them the $1 trillion view, and everyone's just like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm rich like that.
That's
Yeah.
nuts, man.
Bills, we had $1 trillion bills. It was a whole mixture. It was a whole bag. We've been through it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, interesting enough, I was doing some research about you, and apparently you're like the youngest finalist for Miss Zimbabwe.
Oh, yeah.
How was that? Like, how did you get into that gig?
Very interesting story, actually. So growing up, I was very shy. I did not have as much confidence in myself as I have right now. So in primary school, it was very difficult for me to make friends. So I'd always sit in my little corner, grab my sketch pad, start drawing or sketching, start visualizing outfits and houses, until to a point where I got so comfortable in my own little corner. And it was really, really bad. And then in junior school, when I was in fourth grade, some lady came into our school and they introduced the modeling club. So I was like, oh, you know what? This sounds pretty interesting. Why not give it a try? Because whenever I would come across people, they're just like, oh, you're so tall. You should probably try modeling. So yeah, when that opportunity presented itself, I was like, sure, why not give it a shot? So I did attend the training, loved it. And fortunate enough, they hosted Miss Teen World Primary School that year in my junior school. And I title. So then I was like, oh, wow, girl, you can actually walk in front of people, like confidence started boosting. And then I went on to high school. Unfortunately, in my high school, we did not have modeling club, and also the arts in my school was still growing. So I kind of just shoved it to the side. And then when I wrote my O levels, I took a gap year because I didn't know what I wanted to study. So within that gap year, I tried on another pageant, which is Miss Harare Junior. I took part in Miss Harare. At first, my mom was really skeptical, because there are a lot of stories that are around the modeling industry, especially in Zimbabwe. But my it's just like, what do you need? Okay, let's go. Let's get it. Okay, give this a shot. Literally like 2 days before the pageant, I didn't have a dress. I didn't have a costume. My dad was like, okay, what do you need? You need a dress? Okay, let's go get it. You need this? Okay, let's go. Let's get it, And then fortunate enough, I won the pageant that year, became Miss Harare Junior. And that was a stepping stone in my career. It opened so many doors. I got to talk to a lot of people, attended so many events. I got so comfortable being in front of the camera and behind the camera too. And then the following year, I was like, oh, well, there's Miss Harare Junior. There's Miss Zimbabwe coming in. So why not give it a shot? And I went there, gave it a shot, made it through the audition process, made it to the boot camp, went to boot camp. Honestly, it was tough. Like the boot camp was tough.
What do they do in boot camp?
So you're taught to walk, you're taught to talk, to sit, how to be a model, how to be yourself, how to embrace who you are, and also you learn a lot more about your country, about the history of your country, because once you become Miss Zimbabwe, you're not just Yollanda, but you're a representative, you're Zimbabwe. You represent, you have to be knowledgeable about your country, about where you come from, about your roots. So we took all those classes to actually know. We had training, and then we also had fitness training. So our days were like this. Every day we'd wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, go for a fitness class for 2-3 hours, just depending on the day. Sometimes they would make us run and then warm up, and it was intense. And then have Zumba, so it was intense. And then after that, we go back to the hotel, we quickly shower, put on our makeup, put on our heels, dress up, go to the office, train where, heels were walking, train for the whole day up until like lunchtime, then go for lunch, come back, train again, or have our etiquette class or history class or whatever it was, or makeup class that day. And then after that, you keep training until around 11 p.m. or 12 midnight or even 1 a.m. sometimes, just depending on the day. And after that, you go to bed. But there are also some days when we got the chance to actually travel and see the historical sites that are in Zimbabwe. I know one of the trips, we actually came to the Heroes Acre in your background. And Yeah, we traveled to Victoria Falls. We went to a gold mine. We just learned a lot about the resources that are surrounding us. So yeah, it was really hard. I mean, we had to be in heels for like sometimes 10 hours plus a day. Yeah,
Even when
so
you're doing Zumba?
no, not when you're doing Zumba. Not when you're doing Zumba, Yeah. So like a week actually before the pageant, like our legs were swollen. And whenever we yeah, our legs were really swollen. They could barely fit our shoes sometimes, or we had to elevate them when we go to bed, you know, like warm water. But it was intense. But to be honest, I enjoyed the experience,
Mm.
because it made me a better version of myself. I became more aware of myself and my surroundings as well. So yeah, then the final pageant happened, final day. Unfortunately, I did not make it to the top 8, but I was in the top 16, walked on the final stage, and yeah, I would not take that experience for granted.
Mm.
Learned a lot, and it opened a lot more doors of opportunities for me in not only in the modeling industry but in the arts industry.
Mm. During the boot camp, is it covered by the government or who's paying for the logistics of it?
So it was not the government, there was a license holder, like in my country. So she took care of all the expenses, like everything was covered. Our food, we stayed in a hotel for about 3 weeks, and everything was covered. Even on the final day, the costumes that we put on, the makeup, the hair, everything was covered. So all we had to do was just to come, be ourselves, or be the best version of ourselves, and scoop the crown.
Wow, that's crazy. Was it televised on TV?
Yes, it was. It was. It was. I mean, it was a very prestigious event. So they had to air it on TV. They even went live on Facebook too.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I guess beauty contest is big in Zimbabwe.
it's growing. You know,
Mm.
yeah. The Philippines, you guys definitely have a bigger pageant industry, and you guys are amazing. To be honest, we cannot take that away from you.
Mm.
Philippines and South Africa. Zimbabwe is still growing. I know. We just recently got the Miss Supranational license. And now they're working towards getting the Miss Universe license as well. So yeah,
Mm.
because the Miss Universe in 2001. Actually, that was the first and last representative we had from Zimbabwe. So since then, we've not been able to acquire the license up until now, but hopefully soon.
What kind of license do you need?
So you get it from the Miss World organization or the Miss Universe organization. So Miss Universe organization, they have headquarters in New York, and then the Miss World, I think they should be in the UK. So they just give you permission to hold the contest, and then they also give you like terms and conditions and things that you have to follow. It's more or less like buying a franchise. Yeah.
Okay.
So they kind of tell you what to look out for. I mean, you can always twist and alter it to your preference, but they kind of just give you just a scope of what exactly you're looking for.
Was there like a high limit for the models or the contestants?
So actually I participated in Miss Zimbabwe twice, when I was 16 and when I was 21. When I was 16, yes, they were a bit strict when it comes to your weight and your height. Yeah, I remember being measured at boot camp, but when I was 21, they were not as strict because now the modeling industry is more acceptive of different shapes and body sizes, which I think is such an amazing initiative because height is not something that you can buy, like it's God given. And I think it should be a platform where we embrace our bodies, embrace our differences and who we are as women and men.
Mhm. So you're pro inclusive beauty contest.
Yes. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Were there like things that you're not allowed to do or have while you're competing?
You're not allowed to be married.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Miss Zimbabwe. It's not Mrs. Zimbabwe.
Exactly. So you should not be married during the time. And also, you should not have any form of nude pictures or things that will eventually compromise you getting the title that are out there in the media. You should just have a clean profile, because once you become such a prominent figure, you're an inspiration to a lot of young girls and boys out there. So you would not want to encourage them to have things like nude pictures or inappropriate pictures or videos circulating.
I read about that Miss Zimbabwe, two of them had nude photos and they had been stripped by it.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened when they strip you? Do they take away back the money and whatever, or just the crown?
I'm not quite sure like what exactly they will demand back, but I know for sure that they will take the crown back.
And you
Yeah.
obviously cannot compete anymore.
Yeah, you can't compete at either Miss Universe or Miss World.
You won so much awards. Which one is the one that you hold close to your heart?
Oh, good question. There are actually two that I think I hold close to my heart. The first one would be when I was still in high school, my last year of high school, I got a trophy from the Indian Embassy to Zimbabwe for there was an art award. So the topic was Mahatma Gandhi, and we had to be creative and come up with pieces that were centered around Mahatma Gandhi. Yes, and I remember seeing my fellow art friends and peers drawing and painting, and I just thought to myself that I wanted to do something different. So I molded a face of Mahatma Gandhi using I forgot the name, but they use it when they're making plasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I molded a face of him. And then I also used recyclable objects to make faces of other people that represented his followers. So these objects were a combination of bottle caps, things that are new, things that are old, and it showed that in as much as Mahatma Gandhi made so much waves back then, he's still very influential now. So hence whatever new object that I used in the project, that's what it represented. It represented the now, and then the old stuff represented the later. And also they were all different colors and shapes, meaning that he has managed to bring the whole world together. I mean, if you talk of Mahatma Gandhi, be it in South Africa and the Philippines and Mongolia, like everybody knows him, because he's such a prominent figure. So all the different colors just represented that, hey, he made waves, like in the universe.
Yeah, he did. But I mean, there was
Yeah.
one thing that he said something about black man, but we'll not talk about that.
Okay.
Remember? Do you know this?
Yes, I do know.
But-
I do know, but I appreciate the good works and the deeds that he did.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and like, he has flows.
No,
you know.
also by the way, later a few I believe like a year yet later or whatever, he admitted that it was wrong what he said.
Yes, he did. And I think that's very powerful when such an influential leader comes back to apologize, when they actually notice that they made a mistake, they actually hurt a lot of people, and they still had the audacity to come back and apologize. That means a lot about leadership. So yeah, that's one award that I hold close to my heart. The one that I got from the Indian ambassador to Zimbabwe. And then the second one was the charity project of the year. My very first charity project of the year award from the Zimbabwe Models Association. That was in 2015, because I love helping people. I love seeing people reach their maximum potential. So being recognized as somebody who is making a difference in the community really meant a lot. I remember even crying when I got the award, because I just thought of all the projects that we had worked on, and just the thought of, oh, wow, like people are actually appreciating the works that we've been doing was amazing. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Is that the one that Help a Child Save a Nation?
Yes. So that gave birth to Help a Child Save a Nation. This is an organization that Brian Zawi and I started in 2013, and we're still running up until now. We have worked on a lot of projects. We have hosted a candlelight dinner in memorial of kids that died of HIV and AIDS. We have hosted a My Shoes campaign where we donated shoes to different homes. We have hosted a My Book campaign where we collected books and distributed them, clothes and all. But right now, what we're mostly focusing on is the education campaign, which is called the Million Kids to School campaign. Million kids, because our dream is to at least cater for the educational needs of 1 million kids, not only in Zimbabwe, but in Africa, because education is so important, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Education is it's really the key to improve a country like Zimbabwe, Philippines, and whatever else, like improve the community.
That is so, so true. That is so true. And, most of the inspiration also comes from my dad. Like, my dad does not have a high school certificate, right? Neither does he have a university degree because he dropped out of school when he was still in 7th grade. Because my granddad had died then, so he had to take care of all his siblings, but he had a dream of being his own boss, and he worked so hard to build an empire with no education, and because of that, like, I see him, he's always been my motivation. He has taken my mom to school, like, in her old age, made sure that all his kids were educated. And now I see the vision that he had, because everybody in my family is now working towards improving the family business, and they're also working towards improving their lives in whatever professions that they're working with. I see the importance of education as a whole. So yeah, he's just been my greatest inspiration.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You did some modeling in Zimbabwe, or?
Yes. So modeling started in Zimbabwe, pageantry and commercial modeling as well. And then in 2017, I was selected to represent Zimbabwe at the World Championships of Performing Arts, where I took part in modeling, and I scooped a gold medal for my country.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then eventually moved to Canada and started exploring more into the film industry and also commercial modeling.
Why did you move to Canada? Was there a family member here, or?
No, so it was mostly for education. I am an economist by profession. Yes, mostly for education.
Why did you choose Manitoba?
I know. You know what? If I tell you, like, every winter I keep asking myself, why Manitoba of all the places? Because I remember when I was applying for school, I got accepted in the UK, in Cyprus, and in Canada. UK, my aunt's there. But of all the choices, I was like, yeah, let's go to Winnipeg, Manitoba. And my agent was just like, oh yeah, you better stay warm because Winnipeg is cold. They told me that Winnipeg is cold, but they forgot to tell me that Winnipeg is freezing cold. Like, there's a difference. It's not cold. It's freezing cold. So even the first week I arrived, like, there was a blizzard. And I remember coming out of the airport, I was like, nope, I'm going back. I am going. Because there was a blizzard that week. I didn't have a winter coat. I didn't know how to dress warm. I didn't even have a blanket. So yeah.
Holy crap. Where did you stay?
First night, thankfully, I stayed in a hotel. And then the second day, I moved into the school residence. So yeah, when I moved into the school residence, like, my room was literally just empty. I didn't have no blankets, no sheets, no winter coats. But I had a Chinese neighbor, and I remember asking her for the Wi-Fi password. And then we just started conversing. I was like, yeah, I'm new. And she's like, you know what? Come in. She gave me her hat, she gave me a winter coat, she gave me boots, she gave me a scarf and gloves. She's like, keep yourself warm, just go to the mall, get yourself warm stuff, and you can return the items whenever you're done. But yeah, just keep these things for as long as you need them. And I was like, what?
That's amazing. Shout out to China girl.
I know. Up until now, we're still friends.
Oh.
Actually, Friends.
I'm sure. I mean, hey, she saved you.
She did. She did. She did. We're best of friends. She's back in China at the moment, and I miss her so, so much. I hope to see her soon.
How did you find life in Canada then?
It's so different from back home. I had a bit of culture shock initially because everybody is so nice and friendly in Manitoba. You know, that's why they call it friendly Manitoba, because everyone is so nice. So yeah, coming from a country where you kind of have to be like, you know, and then you're coming to Winnipeg where everyone is ready to help. Like everyone's like, oh my God, you're new. What do you need? Can I take you anywhere? You know, do you want to go for shopping? Do you need food? You know, so I had a lot of culture shock initially when it came. Also with the systems, because Canada is advanced when it comes to technology. You know, so there are a lot of systems that I had to learn. I had to learn about taxes because in Zimbabwe we don't file our taxes. The procedures, how to get an apartment, all that is a whole procedure. Because in Zimbabwe, if you have the money and you like the place, you just go pay for it, you know, and like you don't have to apply and wait and get approval and, you know, and also, yeah. So just adjusting to the system, learning more about the Canadian culture and the food also. I didn't have a hard time adjusting to the food because in Zimbabwe, we don't have a lot of traditional foods. So yeah, in my household, like you could have your hot dogs or pizza or fries for dinner, and that's fine. So moving here, like I didn't, it was not hard to adjust. I actually loved the food. Most of my friends would disagree.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. They just don't like the food, I guess. But for me personally, I enjoyed it. And I loved seeing and interacting with people from different cultures. You know, I learned a lot about the African culture, you know, because Africa is so huge. About the Nigerian culture. I learned a lot about the Asian culture. There's so much cultural exchange programs happening. So yeah, up until now, I'm still learning, you know.
It's endless.
It is. It
Which
is.
is beautiful. I agree with you with the culture and learning other cultures. That's one thing I love about Canada. One thing when I moved here, I was so excited, like, you know, I'm going to meet some Jamaicans and, you know,
Yeah.
Africans, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, and you get to try out and explore their food,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember I used to work with this lady and
Mm-hmm.
this gentleman, and they're from Zimbabwe, and they speak this language that, like, you know, with the tongue.
Oh, that's the
It, every time I hear, dude, every time I hear them talk, I just shut up and listen because it's so beautiful.
I know, I know, I know. It has a lot of lots of clicks that you know, it's so interesting when you hear people speak or converse.
Yeah, I'm like, they're not talking, they're singing.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Like my friends always say, like whenever I speak in Shona, they're like, are you talking or you're singing? And I'm like, no, guys. I'm
So you
talking.
speak the same language?
I speak Shona. I just know a little bit of Ndebele. I'm still learning. Equally fascinated by the language and the cliques. So whenever I come across my Ndebele friends, I always learn one or two words.
It's crazy because, you know, like when you're trying to learn English, let's say you just say like the boy jumps over the fox, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with this language, is just you have to like click and clack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true. And like different tones. I mean, a word it could be one word, but then the tones can mean 8 different things.
That's
You know,
amazing, man. So,
yeah.
how did you continue modeling in Canada? Like, who connected you to who?
Hmm. So initially, at first, when I first came, I joined a modeling agency, and then a year later, I moved to another modeling agency. But because I work a lot in the arts industry, sometimes I connect with people a lot more in person than I do at the agency. Like sometimes I work hand in hand with clients, or when we host events, I meet a lot of designers. And so most of the times I tend to get my own gigs and then just let the management handle the paperwork side.
The boring stuff.
Yeah, the boring stuff.
So you said you work with the arts, but you also mentioned that you are an economist. What do you mean by that?
So I studied economics in school.
Yeah.
Yes, studied economics and currently studying data analytics as well. Yeah, so yeah.
I know you're an actress.
Yes.
Is that what you mean by like connecting with people?
Yes. Because most of the times when you're on an acting gig, you meet a lot of directors, you meet a lot of casting agencies or casting directors sometimes. You work with a lot of people in the hair and makeup department, and often you build a bond with these people. So most of the times they could just call you directly, or if there's any paperwork that's complicated that needs to be done, and then you give it to the agents or the management, and then they handle it. Yeah.
Which one do you prefer, acting or modeling?
Oh, that's hard. Wow. That's hard. It's like asking me if I have a favorite child. I love my babies equally.
Of course, as you should.
No, I love them equally. I think they both complement each other so well. So, because both of them sometimes, yeah, I mean, with both, it involves being yourself or sometimes exploring yourself. Yeah, exploring your emotions, just depending on the role when it comes to acting or the outfit when it comes to modeling. Yeah, so you explore, you become more aware of yourself, more aware of your body, more aware of your weaknesses and strength as well.
Obviously, those two gigs, you get a lot of rejection.
Yes.
How do you deal with rejection?
At first it was really hard, especially especially the acting side. Yeah, at first it was really hard moving to Canada, and then you're this African girl with an African accent, and then this role needs you to switch up your accent and portray an American accent or Southern accent or British accent. So it meant that you had to take dialect classes, so you do face rejection. Yes, you get more no's than yeses, of course. Sometimes you could book one role in a year, sometimes one role in 2 years, and just depends pretty much, but then you always have to come back to your values, who you are. What's your end goal that has to motivate you, because a lot of people have given up along the way. They've gotten a lot of no's that they just feel like, oh, the industry is not for me, and which is normal because it's the arts industry. But just knowing that you're not perfect and you're not ice cream, like you cannot please everyone. It's the same thing with modeling. You can never be too tall, too short, too light, too dark. There's always something wrong with you.
They tell you too dark?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they could be really blunt. I did not too long ago where the designer was like, oh, I needed somebody darker. And the casting director was like, oh, well.
That's bad.
No, I know. And it's so sad that we're still living in such an era, So you're never enough. Like, honestly, it's either sometimes or you're too tall or you're too short, But then it also comes back to who you are. Comes back to you knowing your value and your worth. Taking every no and turning it into a yes. Telling yourself that they said no, but you know what? They needed me more than I needed them. In 10 years' time, they will reflect back and be like, oh, shoot, we made a mistake. We could have. Yes. Comes back to who you are, what you carry, and what your end goal is. That has to keep you motivated. And also having people that you can openly have such conversations with. because it's a very vulnerable industry. So you always have to check in with yourself and check in with other friends as well, mentally too, because it can take a mental toll on you. But I'm glad that I have a very strong community of friends that always keep me intact, that push me, boss me, and motivate me.
Mm.
The times, and also having mentors, I think is so important, because there's a people that have walked the journey before, so they understand the struggles that they went through, and they can share their story with you. So like often when they share their stories, you more often have an aha moment that, hey, I'm actually not the only one going through this, like you went through this. Wow. Like, yeah, it's comfort. So yeah, just knowing who you are, what you carry, understanding that it's the company's loss and it's not your loss.
Confidence, blind confidence. Just keep on going.
Exactly. If you see yourself as Miss Universe in the next 10 years, best believe that company's going to be like, oh my word, I wish we had worked with that girl. If only we knew she was going to be the next Miss Universe, So yeah.
That's amazing. I want to ask you,
Yeah.
being in Zimbabwe and you're being a celebrity, and then you move to Canada and you're like the normals, as
Mm-hmm.
they say. How did that affect you?
Wow, and become a celebrity. I don't know if I would label myself as a celebrity.
Well, you're on TV, you know what I mean? Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like people recognize you.
Yes. It was kind of hard, simply because in Zimbabwe, I had sort of built a base. I had built a name and a profile for myself. And then moving to Canada where nobody knows you, you know, it was a lot harder. Like it almost felt like I was starting over again, building a portfolio, building connections. Because in Zimbabwe, sometimes you'd get a job because you've worked with a company previously, or because they saw or read an article about you and they loved your work and what you stand for. And then just moving to Canada is like, Canada is a lot bigger, and in order for you to become a prominent name in Canada, like you really have to work hard. So that was hard, building a profile. I mean, I'm still in the process of building my profile. I don't think that process will never come to an end. You always keep building and keep rebranding and keep evolving.
Beautiful. I want to ask you, because obviously I
But
watch. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, the best part was just knowing that you're in a foreign land where you can do anything and nobody will judge you.
Yeah, that helps too. Yeah, I see that. I see that. Yeah, you can be a different person, or you can be the person that you always wanted to be, but you can't because there's so much judgment.
I know, like I can stand in the middle of the road and dance or scream, and like nobody would judge you. And like in Zimbabwe, where there are places that my parents would not allow me to go to, or places where you probably bump into one or two places or one or two faces that probably know you, people that you know. So now moving into Canada where nobody knows you, I was like, oh my God, I can be out of my shell with no judgment.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was gonna ask you because I watch shows and movies and whatnot, and I see people in the background, like background actors and actresses, and they pretend they're talking. Are they actually talking or?
No, no. So it depends actually. I know the very first few takes, you kind of have to mime. So you actually don't talk, yeah. But there are times when they need to record the room ambience. So that's when they'll ask you to talk. So when you actually hear sometimes a lot of people talking, it could actually be their actual voices that they just recorded, or sometimes they could edit them. So yeah, it just depends. You do a couple of takes when you're literally miming, and then you do one or two takes when you're actually speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like about acting?
What do I like? Good question. I love the um hmm. There's so many things I like about acting. I don't know what exactly to start off with. Firstly, I think being able to be in a different being able to be in a different character. in another person's shoes, because with acting, they come with different roles that you have to portray. Sometimes you could be a divorced mom, or you could be a young teenager, different roles, and you kind of have to explore, like look for, do your research on what will make you stand out. So yeah, that's what I like about acting, like just being in a different space. Like I love emotional roles. Funny enough, I love emotional roles because sometimes even when you're nervous on set, but you have an emotional role, they'll just assume that, oh, it's part of your character, So your voice could be shaky because you're nervous or you're cold, but then they're just like, oh no, it's part of your character. She's doing an amazing job. So yeah, emotional roles, because growing up, I've always been the tough girl, that no, wipe your tears, we move. I've not been able to explore my emotional side much. So coming here, my acting coach has really done a good job in terms of allowing me to explore those emotions, allowing me to put myself in another person's shoes. So yeah, that's one thing. And number 2 is the hair and makeup process.
Such a girl.
I know. The hair and makeup process, when you get to set and then you sit in the chair, you get your hair and makeup done, there's this transformation into the character that you're portraying, that'll also give you like a boost, like confidence, if it's a boss lady type of vibe character, it's a gothic role, or, so hair, makeup, that's the best. And number 3 would be the
food. You and your food.
I know. You know what? Set food is the most unhealthy food, but I just love it. Because when you get on set, there's a crafts table. And this crafts table is open 24/7, and it has access to everything from candy to cereal to fruits, coffee, teas, like different stuff. Also, depending on the project, like depending on the budget of the movie. If it's a big budget movie, then best believe you will have like the best stuff, of course. And if it's a low budget movie, you have the okays. And then also during lunchtime, most movies usually have a buffet. And then you also have and then like in between takes, you have little snacks coming in, like they feed you. Like being on set sometimes feels like you're on a feeding scheme, because like there's always something. Like there's always, like when you get to set, within 3 hours or 4 hours, they bring in subs, which are like that's your coffee or your sandwich or like your soup or whatever it is. And then after that, after 3 or 4 hours, it's lunchtime. You have a buffet, and then after that, 4 hours later, you get more. And then and there's also a crafts table with so much stuff, so there's always something to munch on, like always. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. I love the food part. You mentioned about emotional. I saw some videos of you that you're tearing up, you're shedding some tears. How do you do that?
Good question. So sometimes when you really do your due diligence in terms of researching more about your character, you tend to feel more like your character instead of yourself. You tend to put yourself more in the character's shoes instead of yourself. So yeah, when you put yourself in character, you forget about who Yollanda is sometimes. You forget about what Yollanda likes, and you have to come up with a story about the character that you're portraying. It's like designing a new person, or what does my character like? And you're basing all that on the script. So sometimes it could just be like a 1-page script, but you can come up with a backstory for your character. And yeah, just being able to understand your character, most of the times it actually allows you to feel the emotions right away, but also there are times when if you're failing to connect to your character, or if you have a story that's kind of similar to your character, you can kind of reflect on that story, like think of all your sad moments. For example, if you're portraying a character of a lady who lost her baby or her husband. And then in your life, you probably lost somebody who was really dear to you. You can sort of take that, or those emotions rather, and then put them in your character and kind of, talk to yourself. How did you feel? How would you react? And stuff like that. And then before you know it, you're already crying a river.
I don't know, dude. I don't think I can do this. Also, I saw that you're a voice actor as well for this show, Supa Strikas.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, how did you get that gig?
Oh, my story is so interesting. If I tell you that I got rejected 3 times, I auditioned 3 times.
You got thick skin.
I know. Got rejected 3 times. It was just at a point where I was like, oh no, I am done. And then my agent reached out for the last time. He's like, hey, Yollanda, submit for this character. And I was like, oh no. But I was like, you know what? Let me just give it a shot. Like, usually I try it once, twice, 3 times. I'm like, but the fourth time I'm like, nope, I'm done. But with Supa Strikas, I was like, I grew up watching Supa Strikas, and I know what it means to a lot of people in South Africa and Zimbabwe, or Africa as a whole, who actually grew up watching Supa Strikas. It's like, this would be such an amazing opportunity or show to be a part of or to voice. So yeah, after the 4th audition, I went to the studio, nailed the first character, and the director was like, I think I'm gonna give you a second character. And then he did. Like, oh, maybe third character, but unfortunately 2 of my characters had a dialogue together. So yeah, that was gonna be tricky.
That's awesome. I love it. Did you have to change your accent or anything like that?
No, I did not have to change my accent.
I love your accent anyway.
Thank you. I was happy because one of the characters was a new character. So I made a backstory based on my own story. And so I originated that character from Zimbabwe.
I love that.
But for the other character, I kind of had to sound really young and energetic. Yeah, because my one character is a very old lady, and then the other one is a very young, vibrant woman. So, yeah.
There's been an outrage on the internet about voice actors voicing characters that doesn't reflect what they look like or ethnicity like, right? What's your opinion about that?
You know what? This thing has been going on for a while now. Like, I remember when they renewed Supa Strikas, the new season, actually, one of the characters was actually telling me about all this that's going on about characters and their representation and stuff like that. And from what he told me, that these companies are actually now putting the effort to cast characters that work hand in hand with the voices. So there is actually a huge difference when it comes to the Supa Strikas season 8. Yeah, all the characters really reflect the voices behind the characters. So I'm happy that they are taking that approach, because that opens more opportunities for people who are very diverse or come from very diverse backgrounds. Like myself, Supa Strikas, if it was not for that initiative, I don't think they would have picked me. They would have gone for maybe somebody else who has a more neutral accent, and then just ask them to tweak it up here and there. But because of such an amazing initiative, now we have people who look like the characters, who represent the characters. Yeah.
Beautiful. Speaking of that, with the Black Lives Matter movement, there's we see in the media there has been a lot of change.
Yes.
Do you think that's real change, or do you think it's just going to be a fad?
I think it's a real change. Like the Black Lives Matter movement happened a few years ago, but just recently I was at a press conference in Manitoba. They recently launched the Black Manitobans Chamber of Commerce. that's run by people of color, but it's also open to other people of color. That's run by Black people, sorry, but it's open to other people of color. So we see all these movements and growth that's happening in the industry. It's becoming more acceptive of people of color. Because I remember in 2017, when I came to Winnipeg, when I started off acting, like they always made sure that they had 1 or 2 Black people on set, and they would always see you in a very strategic position because you're the only Black person on set, so they try by all means to use you in almost all the shots so that it looks nice. So oftentimes then when I was a professional background actor, I'd have to carry, or I would be asked to carry different outfits just so that it would look like I am different people, and sometimes different hair as well. They would ask, "Oh, you have braids? Do you have a wig? Or can you put a do-rag on and stuff?"
Do-rag on? That's
exactly
horrible.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I get what you're trying to say. I'm probably the only Black person, so you're trying to make it look like there were 20 of us, But now there's a huge difference, even also in terms of casting roles as well. Movies also, like I see a lot of casting roles that are for Black people or people of color, rather. I see the industry opening more to even having people of color on set work not only as cast members, but also as crew members. They're trying to be as inclusive as possible in workplaces. Also, they're trying to be inclusive. And it's such an amazing initiative because it's opening opportunities to people like myself, and it feels good to be heard and to be seen and to be appreciated.
Beautiful. We're getting there, but one more question.
Sure.
When is Talk the Walk gonna come back?
So we've actually been working on season 2. We have been shooting episodes for season 2 for the past 1 month. Yeah, it's been almost a month now. We've been in production since, and I'm so excited because we won't be streaming on YouTube. I mean, we'll still have a few episodes on YouTube, but we're also moving on to a bigger platform, which is Play Africa TV. So Play Africa TV is like the African version of Netflix.
That's awesome.
Netflix's greatest competition. Yeah, so that's where we'll be streaming most of our episodes. And I'm also hoping to be on a local channel here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. With such movements like the BMCC, I'm hoping that we'll have a lot more opportunities and resources readily available for people like myself who want to know more about businesses and young people that are doing such an amazing job in the community, and just giving them that platform to inspire and to tell their stories to other people. So definitely watch out for season 2. I can't tell you when it's going to come out, but very soon, very soon.
I watched on YouTube and they're pretty good, man. I love the Sherelle Holder story. That's pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Sherelle Holder's story was so amazing. It was so amazing. Up until now, I still get feedback, like our story has inspired a lot of people.
It was blowing my mind when she said no to that gig that she's going to get paid $3,000 per day. And she said no. I'm like, yo, bro, what's wrong with you? No. You take that. Forget about Jesus. Jesus will understand.
Like those are some of the things that you come across in the industry. You come across such offers. Sometimes you come across casting directors who are like, oh, we're going to give you X amount of money if you show your leg or your thigh or your shoulder or your, But yeah, just knowing who you are, your value and your principles, is so important.
That's awesome. I'm glad that it's coming back because I think you're doing a great thing there.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you're also doing such an amazing job too. I really love your interviews, love your platforms. And thank you for allowing us to share our stories because, there's a lot that goes on in Africa, in Zimbabwe, to be more specific, in other countries too. And it's important to share our culture with other people so that they are aware of who we are as people. And yeah, we join hands and make the world a better place for everyone.
Beautiful. Well said. Like a true Miss Zimbabwe winner. You know what I mean? They made a mistake that you should have won, to be honest.
Don't worry, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. There you go. I love it. Anyways, Yollanda, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was so nice. I enjoyed this conversation a lot. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Same to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Again, Yollanda, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.